What's going on? Welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be talking about changing your body fat set point. My name is Alan Millo. I run an online coaching company that helps men drop 20 plus pounds and keep the weight off. And if you've ever lost 20 pounds and gained it back, or you've always just kind of wanted to get back to your old self that you vividly remember, then this video is going to be for you, because I'm going to be talking about a concept called changing your body fat set point. And what this basically refers to, I'll use myself as an example. I was once 240 pounds, and that was my normal. That was my usual. At the calories that I consume today, I was 240 pounds, okay? I went through a fat loss phase, and I went through these 4 pillars that I'm about to show you, and then my body weight was around 220 pounds, okay? Lower body fat. I did this process one more time, and my normal now became 210 pounds. I did it one more time, and my normal was 200-ish pounds, which is what I sit at today. So I'm eating the same calories that I once was eating at 240 pounds, but now my body fat's much lower, my body composition's better, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you today about. And I use these 4 methods, these 4 pillars to allow clients to get the same results, okay? So I run them through these 4 phases, and when I run them through these phases, they all complement each other and allow them to get the best results possible, okay? So we're gonna go to the very first phase, which is called metabolic priming. Now, metabolic priming, the purpose of it is to get your body used to eating more food over time. Now, many of us think that we are doing such a great job with nutrition. The sad reality is that, after a client comes in and I look at their charts, I look at what they're actually tracking, I look at all of the numbers. Numbers don't lie. And I can see that most of them are falling victim to thinking that they are eating less, but they're just eating less during the week. When the weekend hits, they're overeating so much that it knocks them out of that calorie deficit required for us to see substantial results. So what the purpose of a metabolic priming phase is we want to do things that support your metabolic ability to process more food. Okay, and what that basically means, it's a fancy term, but all it means is that we're going to be starting to eat a little bit more, okay, during the week. So that way we reduce a lot of these like binge eating episodes or overeating patterns that you have on the weekend, therefore making it much easier for us to stay consistent. Because if we can't fix the consistency problem, there's no fat loss plan that's going to work for you at all, okay? And then the duration of this is usually around, a couple weeks to maybe a little bit more than a month, okay? Normally is what we do for a metabolic priming phase. Some clients need longer phases than others, but again, everything's very specific and individual to them, okay? Now, when we look at the strategies here, we're gonna be looking at increasing your caloric intake, focusing on macros, and incorporating resistance training. This is what we do in phase 1 of our program with our clients, and this will set them up for phase 2. If we go across here, we're going to be talking about phase 2, which is a fat loss phase, okay? So the purpose of a fat loss phase is obviously to drop body fat, but we also want to make sure that we're retaining muscle mass. Fat loss phases for us usually last around 12 to 16 weeks max. And if someone has more than 20 to 25 pounds to lose, we will implement what's called a diet break to put a pause, take a break from dieting down, and then we will do another fat loss phase after that, okay? Because when you have 50 plus pounds to lose, it's very hard for a lot of people to just lose 50 pounds right off the bat. And most of the time, if they do accomplish that within a couple months, they usually gain it back because it's so unsustainable. So what we do that's a little bit different is that we will implement a diet break for those longer, bigger weight loss goals, okay? Now, we want to make sure that 1, we're maintaining a calorie deficit, but 2, we're maintaining strength. A huge component of this entire transformation is building muscle, okay? Everyone's focused on the weight on the scale, but if you go from 200 pounds to 190 and you still look flabby because you've lost all your muscle mass in the process, you are probably not going to be content with that transformation. So what we focus on doing is maintaining strength by building muscle and maintaining, those PRs that we hit. We want to do our best to not do a dieting phase that's going to take all that strength away. And we want to monitor progress week to week to make sure that we're accounting for body composition changes, okay? Now, the third phase here is what's called a reverse diet. Now, this is the very special part of this entire process, okay? When we implement what's called a reverse diet, all that basically means is that we are going to slowly increase calories over time. We're also going to adjust macronutrient intake, and how this might look different from a fat loss phase. In a fat loss phase, you're going to have a higher protein intake, and then you're going to be a little bit lower on fats, but enough for you to have your bodily functions and your hormones work properly, so 20 to 30% of your calories coming from fat. And then when it comes to carbohydrates, we want those as high as possible inside of a fat loss phase. How this might change in a reverse diet is that we will actually decrease your protein and increase your carbs even more. We also want to make sure that your fats are a little higher to help with hormonal function during this time, because the whole point of a reverse diet and getting your calories back up is to reverse some of the negative side effects that come from dieting. Now, why do most people gain the weight back after they diet? They're usually very hungry. They're usually not being filled enough because their satiety is off, and they're just ready to kind of cross that finish line and stop being so restricted. In this phase, we want to basically get your body back to a normal state of hunger, where your hunger cues aren't out of whack or, not correct. And a lot of times, your satiety and how food sits in your stomach, you could be eating the same amount that you were before you even started this dieting process, but you are not getting full, and that's a problem. It leads a lot of people to overeating. So that's why we do this phase as number 3, because after people lose 20 to 25 pounds, you want to make sure that they maintain the weight that they lost. So we'll implement what's called a reverse diet, and we will focus on increasing calories over time to get their bodies used to more food. We will get them to build more muscle, so that way they can process more food, and it'll also be much easier on their mental health because they won't be gaining all that weight back, okay? And this brings us to one of my favorite phases, which is number 4, okay? Number 4 is the lifestyle phase, all right? Now, with a lifestyle phase, we use macronutrients and we use a very strict training protocol when we train people in the first 3 phases. When we get to stage number 4, though, this is really where things get to be a little bit more fun. And we take active breaks, because we can all agree that tracking macros forever is probably not going to work for everyone. And some people do like the accountability. Like for me, I have breaks throughout the year. Sometimes I will track macros religiously. Other times I will take an intentional break for maybe a month or 2 during a period of time where I just don't find it realistic for me to track macros. And that's really where we try to get people to. So they have the tools and resources that they need in order to track those macros when they need to, and they can button down. And then they can intentionally take a break off and still practice sustainable eating habits, practicing regular physical activity, and mindful eating practices. And all of these things should run on autopilot once you've been doing it for a period of time. Now, this entire process, you might be wondering exactly how long this really takes. And if I were to use an example of someone who wanted to lose 20 to 30 pounds, I would say this entire process takes around a year. Metabolic priming phase usually takes an average of about a month for a client. And number 2, the fat loss phase, we do anywhere from 3 to 4 months, okay? So right there you have 5 to 6 months total. Reverse diet usually takes as long as the fat loss phase did. So if this takes 4 months, you have another 4 months here, and then you will have another 3 months in this lifestyle phase. The lifestyle phase doesn't have an end date to it, because at this point things should be running on autopilot. You should have a very good routine, and this is where we can kind of sprinkle in some more fun things. Like, you've done the groundwork to really change your body composition, and all you're going to do in a lifestyle phase is continue building off of that. But at this point, you might want to get into a different goal. You might want to get into, adding in some runs, or you might want to get into a hybrid style of training like people are doing now. But again, this foundational, 4-step process allows us to change someone's muscle to fat ratio and change their body fat set point so that your new normal is much lower on the scale, much lower on body fat, and very easy to maintain. So let me know if you have any questions on this. I will be posting more videos like this to explain exactly how we get people these transformations. And just to kind of show you an example of what some of these transformations look like, I did use this on all of these clients, okay? So for example, we have Eric at the top here who was able to lose 30 pounds. He came to us in a position where he was under eating during the week, overeating during the weekend. So we went through metabolic priming, we did an initial fat loss phase, and we got his calories a lot higher. He was eating more than 2,000 calories a day by this picture here. The same thing happened with Craig, same thing with Connor. We have Trevor here, we have Will, Nikki, we have Jake up here, we have Vero. So, all these clients implemented these exact strategies that we use to change someone's muscle to fat ratio. And our intention as a coaching team is to make sure that we are teaching our clients exactly what they need to do in order to get the best results possible. So if you're interested in this or have a comment or a question or anything, just drop it down below and pay attention to the next video, because I'll be talking about how we do this in a different way in order to change someone's body composition. So have a great rest of your day. Thanks.